December 16, 1944. The Ardennes, before dawn. A thick fog blanketed the forest. Temperatures had plunged below freezing. Snow fell in silence. The Allied forces considered this front a quiet sector. No one anticipated a massive offensive. Christmas was just around the corner. Then the earth shook. Nearly 900 artillery pieces opened fire at once. In that moment, what was Hitler thinking? The records tell us he had staked everything on this offensive. Cross the Meuse, seize Antwerp, and split the Allied forces in two. This was Hitler's final gamble. 200,000 men. Nearly 1,000 tanks and assault guns. This force emerged from the fog. The autumn of 1944. The Allies had liberated Paris, but their advance had stalled. Fuel shortages, overstretched supply lines, and limited transport capacity had brought the Allied push to a halt. The Ardennes was a front the Allies considered relatively quiet. Rugged terrain, inexperienced troops, a thinly held defensive line. The Germans saw every weakness, and they did not look away. The first few days, the Allies were thrown into chaos. German tanks punched through defensive line after defensive line. Communications went silent. Units were cut off. Commanders lost all grip on the situation. In some sectors, German forces advanced 50 to 60 miles, carving a massive bulge into the Allied front. The Bulge. That is what the records call it. Fear swept through Allied headquarters. The Germans are driving for Antwerp. If they succeeded, the Allied front would be torn in two. In that moment, what were they thinking? Bastogne, the most vital crossroads in the Ardennes. Multiple major roads converged here, a position no armored advance could afford to bypass. The Germans encircled the town. Tens of thousands of American soldiers were cut off. The 101st Airborne Division stood at the center, fighting alongside tankers, artillerymen, engineers, and medics. Food was running out. Ammunition was nearly gone. December 22nd, a German envoy appeared under a white flag. Surrender. Brigadier General Anthony McAuliffe read the message. He laughed, and he replied with a single word: nuts. You've got to be kidding me. That reply became the symbol of resistance. December 26th. On the horizon, fire. General Patton's tanks had arrived. The siege was broken. Bastogne had held. The relief of Bastogne dealt a decisive blow to the German offensive, and by January 1945, the Allies had launched their counterattack. Fuel was gone, supply lines were cut. When the skies cleared, Allied air power hammered German supply routes and troop movements without mercy. Hitler's final gamble had failed. The Germans suffered an estimated 80,000 to 100,000 casualties, killed, wounded, missing, and captured. Losses they could never recover from. But the soldiers were not the only ones who suffered. The people of the Ardennes paid a heavy price, caught in the crossfire, occupied, driven from their homes. Now, I want to ask you something. The defenders of Bastogne fought on, without supplies, without reinforcement. One word, nuts, became the symbol of a will that refused to break. But that one word was not the only reason the offensive failed. Fuel shortages, gridlocked roads, the return of Allied air supremacy, and the stubborn resistance of soldiers at every point. These forces converged and Hitler's plan collapsed. Bastogne was the symbol at the heart of it all. History teaches us that the larger army does not always win. So let me leave you with this. Fear and courage are separated by the thinnest of lines. If you had been in General McAuliffe's place, surrounded in the dark of that winter night, what would you have held on to? What is it that separates those who can say, nuts, against all odds, from those who cannot? Share your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear from you. Thank you for staying with me until the very end. The Battle of the Bulge continues to ask humanity how we fight when everything is on the line. Here at Turning Point History, we follow the moments that changed history and the inner lives of the people who lived them. We tell the stories of battlefield heroes, yes, but also the struggles of the defeated and the sacrifice of those history forgot. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next turning point in history. Until next time.